just ask, what do you think or what do you consider are the highlights of these reforms, and which do you consider are working and which are not working or could be considered as areas for improvement? That's on the side of the SCPIO and on the side of the media as well, just to be fair. What do you think, if you would have it your way, what do you think the media should have covered in the past 2 years, and how would you describe the way media covered the judiciary the past 2 years? In light of there have been reports before and studies showing that the judiciary is one of the, or if not the least covered branch of government.
I started my statement earlier this afternoon by talking about the future. Now let me talk about the future and how I envision the relationship between information coverage or information outputs from the PIO and information propagation from your end is going to be in the future. In the future, this is what I hope to be. And I have asked Teddy to think of a program whereby he can go and tell the people what are the processes within the court, and especially in the Supreme Court. Because I want to minimize the areas of speculation. One problem in this country is that much of the information gets recycled on the basis of fear. There are not enough facts, so people substitute speculation with that and create fear in the process. That is why there is less ability for us to stare facts straight in the eyes and move on the basis of what really is there on the ground that can be objectively verified. If we have greater understanding of how the court functions, and I've asked Teddy to please design that, greater interaction maybe, see he could appear maybe in your shows and find out how an item is agended, how the deliberations are going on without disclosing the actual cases that are being deliberated, then perhaps that can help. Okay. Then I have asked him to talk about a future where the discussion on what is going on in our cases is really on a high level. In some jurisdictions, for example, there are journalists that are really focused on trying to understand the genesis of a certain legal doctrine. And I was asking Attorney Te, can we ever get to that point where they can say that a certain legal concept arose because it was a response to some societal pressures, and the idea was that this should be the response of the legal system in turn. And we will be able, therefore, to have the predictive capability as a people to imagine a future where justice is served because we already understand the operational codes by which we define and structure justice. That is what I hope will come out. Can you just imagine that? A time when the oral arguments in the court are at a high level. People who really already understand constitutional law, so we don't anymore go into the elementary stuff and proceed immediately to the heart of the question. A time when the Supreme Court is not saddled with 11,000 cases, 8,000 cases, but rather will be able to choose the most important cases that will define our future as a country. That time will have to come after we have unclogged many of our dockets, and we are in the process of really solving that right now, and we are really aggressively addressing that. Now, so Attorney Te must design that, and I hope that you media practitioners can also have a workshop with us on how that future can be obtained. You know why it's important? You see, when we create maps on what is legal and illegal according to statutes or what is constitutional or not unconstitutional, it is a guide for entire body politic to move along this path where things are more or less predictable and sustainable on a long-term basis. And I think it is the duty of every citizen, including media practitioners, to contribute to such a future. And for us to be able to take away the past attachment of the term flip-flopping to us. And for people to understand that a reversal on a motion for reconsideration, something as basic as that, is not a flip-flopping. It's just a simple motion for reconsideration. That being said, I also want if the more court reporters can understand what these reform agendas consist of on the ground. If you can accompany us also when we are meeting with the judges, and if you can just see how they are devising solutions already to problems, and how the solutions are being taken out simply as an idiosyncratic answer to a particular situation, but rather it is transplanted to a rule or a guideline and being fleshed out in a resolution that will have permanence, more or less, and that will have general application, and that will be there for the template for the future. If you can join us in the journey, I will be happy. In other words, you will see, hands-on, a developmental process take place. Remember how development is perceived, no? It's from a term, I think it's French term that talks about having something unroll and unfold. So any reform agenda has to be seen in the context of a development process, and I want you to be involved there. Because if there can be insights, and if we succeed in setting the gold standard for public service, I will humbly offer us as an example of how an institution can be transformed in the long run. How an institution can scientifically set standards for itself, targets, how it really uses government budgets on a transparent basis, how even though its most confidential deliberations are hidden from public view, there will be more or less